Others in shamanism is a more broad term. It means other people, it means spirits, it means animals, it means plants. And I'm going to talk to you guys today about how you can practice consent and being consensual with spirits, plants, animals, and other people in your spiritual practice. I looked up the word consent in the dictionary, and I was really excited to find that the word used to mean to be in harmony. And I thought that was a really beautiful way of thinking about it. Now we think of it as like getting permission, but I also like to think of it as being in harmony with those around us. It's a really beautiful way of looking at it, and to me it makes a lot more sense than like just getting permission. It's a way of interacting with others that is based on being part of something together, working together. And that's very important, and I just thought it was a really beautiful way to put it. There are times when we don't think about consent. I think it's fairly common to not think about consent when it comes to your spiritual practice, because it's just not something that we've brought up a lot, not something that we've been trained to think about in our spiritual practices, and it can be one of those little areas where we overlook. And it's also usually not very convenient to try to include consent as part of your spiritual practice, especially when it comes to interacting with other people, because you want to have a good impact on other people's lives with your spiritual practice. But then you have to like talk to them about what your spiritual practice is, and sometimes that's a little awkward or a little odd, especially when you practice something a little more alternative. Like for me, I practice shamanism, and people are like, "Are you a witch doctor? What does that mean?" And I have to like give them the whole long spiel, but it's worth it. It's totally worth it to talk to people about what my spiritual practice is. And it's totally worth it for you to talk to people about what your spiritual practice is and how you would like to impact their lives on a spiritual level. And there's so many times and situations where we just brush off things as being like, oh, well, it's good intentions. I'm just sending good energy their way. I'm just praying for them. Things like that. And we come from a culture where it's thought to always be okay to pray for someone, to always pray for them. But also, when we do that, a lot of times people are very specific of like, I want them to have this and this behavior or this opportunity in their lives. And that may not be something that that person wants in their life. If you're sitting there praying, oh, I hope so-and-so really finds a good partner, someone who loves them and take care of them. What if they're really happy being single and doing their own thing and being on their own? That's a way that you're impacting their lives that's not consensual with your own spiritual practice. I really like it when people say things like, I'm going through a rough time, if you could pray for me or send good energy my way or think of me with good intentions. That is an open invitation. That is a great situation to practice your spirituality with them in mind. That is wonderful, and it's really great. And I really appreciate it when people put that out there. I think it's a very inclusive way of inviting people into your life and asking for support. It's very kind. And for me, one of the bases behind my spiritual practice is that I want to be kind. That is one of the first and foremost ideas that I want, is to be kind with others. And I think that such a simple idea as kindness, as opposed to good or bad, or to have an intense impact on someone's life, I simply want to be kind to them. You have to look at your spiritual practice and say, how do I want my spiritual practice to affect other people? How do I want them to be impacted by me practicing? And when you start from a situation of not asking how you want to impact people first, then you get into all sorts of tangly, strange situations where you're like, oh, that's not how I wanted to be with this person, my friend, and now they're upset with me because they drank this tea from my cupboard that has spiritual intentions, and I didn't tell them that that I drink this tea before I meditate every time. And little situations like that, little tiny things. Even things like if somebody has a space in their house that is set up with a spiritual intention, it's their altar, it's their prayer space, it's the little place where they have all the photographs of their friends and family who have passed away, and that's where they think of them kindly. And you interact with that, or you put something there, or you invite spirits into their house with your situation, your rituals, and you are calling something into someone else's personal space without their permission. It's really highly important to ask for other people's permission before you do anything ritualistically in their personal space. And I know sometimes this can be difficult, like if, say, you work in an office space and you've got a whole lot of cubicles, or you've got a whole lot of people working in this one space, and you want to do a little ritual off hours to invite good spirits into this place. It's probably not a good idea unless you get everyone on board. And if you have a way of undoing what you did. Because if someone comes back 2 weeks later and says, I've been feeling really creeped out, I know originally agreed that we could have these good spirits in our space, but I don't feel comfortable anymore with this idea. You need a way of undoing that. If you can do something, you can also undo it. There's no ritual, there's no spiritual action that you can do that you cannot also undo. So keep that in mind when you're doing anything spiritually. You may want to think about, how do I undo the thing before you even start to do it? But let's say you do have a workplace that you share with a lot of other people. You know that there's too many people to ask. You don't want to ruffle feathers. You don't want to bring up your potentially alternative spiritual practice that might seem a little weird to other people because you don't want to put them off ease. Then a situation where you're inviting spirits into your workplace is probably not a good idea. However, working with the spirits that are already there, they're already there. You're not inviting anyone in. That's a great idea. With shamanism, I'm an animist, and animism is where you believe that everything has a spirit. And people are like, oh, like plants and animals, they have spirits. And I'm like, yes, and so does the table and your food and your cup. And so does the building and the space that you're in. So there's already a bunch of spirits in the space that you're working in. And you can honor those spirits instead of calling new ones in. There's also another thing with consent, is asking the place that you're in, asking the spirit of the place that you're in, if you can do that ritual, if you can bring those spirits in, because those spirits impact greatly the spirit of the place. And it's really important to realize that you're not just impacting things on a human level. You're also impacting things on a deeper spiritual, ecological level where all these things interact. All of these things have an impact on each other. And so if I'm going to do a ritual where I invite a particular spirit into a space, I like to spend the time ahead of time to ask the space and the spirit of the place if that's okay with it. And try to describe as much as I can what that spirit is like, why I want to invite them in, things along those lines. There's also a lot of things that people do saying, well, I just had good intentions. It was always my intentions to have a good impact. Or they're saying things like, well, it was just energy. It was just a prayer. It was just an offering to Spirit. And when we say it like that, and when we go about things with like, well, I didn't think it was going to have that much of an impact, we're also sitting there undermining our own spiritual practice. We're undermining our spiritual practice by saying, I didn't really think it was going to work that well. I didn't really think it was going to have that much of an impact on the people around me. And I didn't think of how this could go wrong or how it could go right. And we're undermining our own spiritual practices when we don't take it very seriously. And don't get me wrong, I think the spiritual practice can be fun, it can be silly, it can be very ridiculous. And it's great to have spirituality as a sense of humor, but it's also very good to take responsibility for our actions on a spiritual level. On all levels, really. And I see spirituality as one of the situations where people get derailed, where they may I just totally lost my train of thought. I'm so sorry. Derailed. It totally was off. I just said that word and it was gone. We're undermining our own spirituality. We're not taking responsibility for the impact that we can have on others and situations around us. And that's when things start going really wrong. I got really upset not too long ago when someone made an offering to spirits in my house. To me, that's an invitation to anything to come into my personal space. If I make an offering, I'm very intentional about, I want this offering to go to this spirit. It's not open to anyone. It's not like putting a bowl of food out on your porch and being like, wild animals, any animals, you can come and eat this food. Instead, it's like saying, this food is for the cat. Only the cat is going to eat this food. So I don't want to invite all the wild animals or all the spirits into my backyard or into my house. And this person did this without asking permission. And so it just blew my mind that they did not think of like, I don't possibly want all these things invited into my house. Spirits are a lot like people. They have their own needs. They have their own desires. They have their own agenda. And some of them are great, and some of them don't get along so well with others. And I think of it as the same thing as getting to know a person. When I meet somebody, I'm not going to invite them into my house right away. That's just how it goes. I'm not going to trust them immediately. And there's a lot of times with spirits and spirituality that people are like, good spirits, come here and do awesome things. And I'm like, what? They're all good in their own eyes. Just like people, we're almost all good in our own eyes. We almost all see ourselves as being good and having a positive impact. And some people don't mesh well. Some spirits don't mesh well. They may not mesh well with the spirits who are already in my house, because I have lots of spirit buddies who hang out in my house. And of course, the spirit of the house, too. They may not mesh well with spirits that are already there. They might eat other spirits and start trying to eat my spirit buddies, which then I would have just a whole lot of drama to clean up. Poor little spirit buddies. But we need to consider spirits as individuals with their own needs, their own agendas, their own wants. And when we do rituals saying, I'm going to call upon these spirits of nature, and I'm going to call them to be part of this ritual, we need to ask them first if they want to be part of this ritual before the ritual gets going. Ideally, like the day before or the week before, and even better, setting up a long-term relationship with spirits. If you have a relationship with a spirit that you just started like 2 days ago, and then you're like, dude, come help me with this project. It's going to be awesome. The spirit's like, yeah, I'll help you with the project. It'll be awesome. I want to do it this way. And you're like, but I wanted it to go this way. And the spirit's like, well, this is what I do. And you're, but the internet told me this. The spirits have their own personalities, their own agendas, and there might be situations where you're like, spirits of this and this and this, come and help me clean my space energetically. And the spirits are like, no, I don't even know you. Why do I want to do house cleaning for you? Are you going to pay me? Are you going to give me anything for my time and effort? What is with these human beings just calling me in to clean up their house? Do I look like your mother? So, there's all these situations where we can try to see spirits as being individuals, as being others who we can set up good situations with, and you have a long-term working relationship with a spirit, you're going to be more likely to know the direction that they're going to want to go in. You're going to know what kind of personality they have and how their personality is going to impact your rituals. And you're also going to know if they're going to be the best possible spirit to work with you on that. Also, they're going to be more interested in helping you if you have a long-term relationship. A lot of times spirits will be like, yeah, I'll help you with that thing, but can you give me a glass of milk and some cookies? They just want a little something in exchange, and I think that's totally reasonable for them to want something in exchange for their time and effort. If you have a situation where you know someone and they're going through a hard time, and let's say there's a particular spirit that you work with, and you tell this spirit, I really want this person to have good things in their life. You, as a spirit, I want you to work on this. I'll give you milk and cookies for it. You have just tied one of the friends or family members or one of the people you know to a spirit. You have created a relationship with them and this spirit. And if they don't know that, it can get really weird for them. Really weird. Because a lot of people, when they interact with spirits on a very real level, they're like, oh my God, I had no idea it was this real, this intense, and why is this happening? You have to ask someone before you do anything involving them and another spirit. You have to ask. And I'm not just limiting this to general everyday nature spirits and house spirits and things along those lines. I'm also referring to deities, angels, fairies, things along those lines, spirits that we may be more commonly asking for help. Deities in particular can be a bit of a mixed bag. And I really like working with gods and goddesses, deities, and they can be highly helpful, but at the same time, you don't want to tie someone else to a deity that they don't even know anything about, or maybe they don't like that particular deity for whatever reason. And you need to sit down and before you have a situation where you make an offering on someone else's behalf, like even if you're lighting a candle on an altar for someone else, you should ask their permission first, because you're creating a connection between that person and the spirits. And in the same way, you should ask the deity or the god or goddess if they want to help. Because trust me, a spirit who doesn't want to help out with something is not a good spirit to work with. If you have an idea of what's good to do, but the spirit doesn't want to work with you on that one, don't work with that spirit. There's tons of spirits out there. There's tons of different options. And you can always do a lot just on your own. We're not reliant on spirits for spiritual work. Also, there's another aspect of spirit work and consent that's really important, and that's minors. With minors, children, we need to ask not only them, but we need to ask their parents. You can't leave one of those out. And if either one of them says no, it's off. You don't do anything without both of their permission, without the permission of the parents or the guardians, and without the permission of the kid. I went to my nephew one time after asking my sister. I asked her, I was like, I would like to go into the spirit world, because with shamanism we journey to another layer of reality called the spirit world. I said, I would like to go to the spirit world and check up on my nephew and see how he's doing. He was like 6 at the time. And she said, okay, just check, don't mess with anything, just look. And I was like, yep, that's the plan. And then I explained to my 6-year-old nephew what spirit journeying was, what the spirit world was, and I was like, can I go see you in the spirit world and see how you're doing? He's like, I guess so. And so I did. But it wasn't without permission from both my sister, his mom, and from him. Because other than that, it's meddling. It's a lot of meddling. And even with the best of intentions, one of my favorite quotes is, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. Good intentions can get us into a lot of hairy situations. And a lot of times we will write off things as being, with the best intentions. Well, I just wanted good things. But that's not what happened. And you still have to take responsibility for what happened, as opposed to what you wanted to have happen. So we get into situations where we go in with the best of intentions, but things go differently. And then we have a whole bunch of stuff to clean up. We have a whole bunch of feathers to smooth, things along those lines, and it just turns into a big mess. And if people are agreeing to something ahead of time, we have a better chance of not ruffling feathers, not stepping on toes, and not being unkind to people. Just little things like that. But I also feel like there has to be more trust in other people. If someone is making a choice about how they're living their life, and they're not saying they want to change it, they're not saying they want anything different, if they're making a choice about how they want to live their life and you see it as unhealthy or not having a good impact on that individual or not having a good impact on the people around them, you still need to trust that person to make their own decisions and make their own actions. Interfering with their life and their decisions because you decided it was unhealthy or unwise is not going to help in the long run. We have to be able to trust people in order for people to be able to trust us. And in situations where you step in with your spiritual practice, you start praying to a deity or asking the spirits to impact someone on their behalf because you decided their behavior isn't what you think is the best. It's not kind, it's not trustworthy, it's meddling, and you really need to be able to develop the ability to trust other people You can make offers to these people. You can make open offers of like, I would really like to pray for you. I would like to make an offering. I would like to be able to work with you with some healing energy. Make an offering to these people. And if at first the answer isn't yes, don't push it. Leave it be. Even if you want to have a good impact on this person's life, the best impact you can have on someone else's life is being a trustworthy person that they know they can go to, who's not going to translate their actions as something that should be changed or should be different, that their free will and their choices should be undermined. I'm pushing this hard because it was a really hard lesson for me also. I really wanted to have an impact on people that would allow them to have the best possible lives. But the problem is that I was hoping for them to have my version of the best possible life. And that wasn't their version. And they found out how I was trying to impact their life. And they said, no, that's not cool. That's not what I want. I'm doing what I want. I'm doing what I need to do. And I don't want your help, especially if I don't ask for it. For me, that was a very hard lesson because I was sitting there being like, but I just want what's best for you. And to be shut down so hard and to lose friends and to lose connections with people I was close to. It was very difficult for me to be able to let go and say, those people are making choices for themselves, and that's what they want, and that's the best possible thing that they can have right now. Maybe it's not, maybe it is, but I decided to believe that so I would quit messing with their lives. There's also a lot of people who get into spirituality and spirit work and energy work, and they enjoy the company of animals. They love doing spirit work with animals, and they love giving animals healing energy, things along those lines. But this is also another situation where we need to practice consent. Consent with your pets. So let's say that you're giving energy to your cat because your cat's not feeling well. Your cat's been lethargic, hasn't been eating very much, things along those lines. And so you decide to give your cat some good energy. Your cat's all curled up in your lap. You're sending out good energy to your cat. And your cat's like, ah! Jumps up and runs away. Is the cat into it? Was that a no? That is the most clear no that you can get, is if the animal leaves. This is a way that we can practice being in harmony with the animals around us, is just by reading their body language. If they like tense up and they're like, no, get off of me, then it's time to stop. And by picking up on little cues like that and body language like that, we can be more kind to our animals and not put them through things they don't like. Because animals are very sensitive to spiritual matters. Well, a lot of them. Not all of them, but a lot of them. And they have dislikes and likes and needs the same as we do. They have things that they want and things that they don't want. And I think on a deep level that they understand what's going on. And you have to, sometimes it's hard to accept our animals, our pets. They want to be sick. They want to express some discomfort that's going on in their bodies. They want to process something that's going on, or they want to pass away because they're just old. They're ready to go. And I find that a lot of people in Western culture have a really hard time letting go of their pets. And I understand that because I too have been a pet owner, and I love my animals. And they're wonderful creatures. And there's a situation and a time where we need to let them go and put their needs before our own desires. There's also situations that we can get into with spirits where it's hard to figure out like the yes and no of it, and you have to learn and to hone your ability to listen to spirits. This is one of the big core practices of shamanism, is the ability to listen to spirits. And for everyone, this is slightly different. For some people, they hear it. They hear the voices of the spirits in their minds, and it's very strong and powerful for them. For other people, they get mental images, or they see things in colors and shapes. And other people, they have bodily reactions. And it feels like a pressure on the chest, or it feels like a pulling or pushing, whatever it is. A lot of people, when they interact with spirits or come in contact with spirits, there's a high-pitched ringing in the ear, maybe the eyes water, the hair on the back of your neck stands on end, all those good little things. And when you hone your ability to interact and speak with spirits and communicate with them, and understand that a pull is a yes and a push is a no, and that when your eyes water really heavily, it's probably a no. And when your ears start ringing a lot, it's because the spirit's really excited to talk to you and really happy. So there is an element of practice, because spirits are speaking with energy and they're speaking with emotions. And you have to learn that language and be able to hone your ability to listen to and communicate with that language, because not all spirits are going to understand our human words. They're not going to all understand our language. And some of them may only speak one people language. So if they don't speak your language, you need to find another way of communicating. One of the things that's great about setting up a relationship with spirits based on consent is that you are less likely to have spirits have an unconsensual relationship with you. This runs into, I've met multiple people who've had a hard time with spirits coming to them and intruding their houses and intruding their dreams and impacting their life in a way that they don't want, in a way that the spirits didn't say, hey, do you want this? The spirits never said that. And the more the spirits see you interacting with other spirits in a way that is considerate, kind, and appreciative, consensual, the more that spirits are going to interact with you on a consensual basis. They're not saying, oh, this is how we're going to interact with this person. Actually, that is what they're saying. They're watching your actions, your interactions with other spirits. They're seeing your interactions with other people, and they're saying, this is just what this person wants. This is how they want to interact with others. All right. Let's just invade the dreams. Let's send them messages in times and places that they don't want and doesn't work at all. Let's give them runny noses and runny eyes while they're at work. So the more that you practice consent with other spirits, the more that other spirits are going to practice consent with you, which is definitely a huge bonus. There is a lot of information about shamanism from different cultures, where the anthropologists who are studying those cultures and those forms of shamanism said, the shamans have control over the spirits. The spirits are like their servants, and they do whatever they want. So I just want to say that maybe there's a few cultures out there that do this, but almost everyone's had slavery in their background at some point or another culturally. And it's never gone well. It's not a good idea. But I also want to say that there's a lot of misinformation where the shamans were saying, I asked the spirits to do this, and they do it because I give them these things, or these spirits have pledged that they want to help me in everything that I do. The spirits and the shamans have an agreement, and sometimes this gets misinterpreted as the spirits do whatever the shaman wants as as their servants. And most of the time it's really not the case. Most of the time the spirits that shamans are interacting with in indigenous cultures, those spirits already have agreements with those shamans and with those people who are practicing their spirituality. There's very rare and few situations where there's actually a shaman or someone who's practicing shamanism who's binding the spirits to their will and making them do what they want. And in my opinion, that's a good way to live a tormented life, because those spirits will not like you at all. So, they will be all over you. Any chance they get, anytime you slip up, they're going to be like, oh, let's get them. This one has really given us a hard time for a long time. Now we're going to give him a hard time. It's going to be great. So it's another good reason to practice consent with spirits and make agreements. So that if you don't slip up, they're not going to be after you, and you don't have to constantly be watching your back and making sure that you cross your T's and dot your I's. Also, with deities, gods, and goddesses, I talked a lot about having a situation where you're asking a deity to impact another person, or you're asking a deity to do a certain thing, or have a implied to give you a service, basically. But in my opinion and in my practice, it's the best to start off with asking the deity, the god, the goddess, do you want to work with me? Setting up your relationship with the spirits around you, even the big awesome ones like deities. You want to sit down and say, this is who I am, this is what I'm about, and this is what I want to do with my spiritual practice. Would you like to help me? Can I have your help on these situations? Will you teach me? Can I learn from you? Things along those lines. So when you set up because a lot of times people will just be like, I'm going to call upon this deity. I'm going to go to the goddess Diana, and I'm going to make an altar to her, and I'm going to go hunting, and I'm going to have a great time. I'm going to go hunting animals with my camera, and I'm going to take a lot of pictures of them. Things along those lines. And Diana's like, I didn't say I would help you. No, I'm not going to help you. You didn't even ask, really. You just said, do the thing for me. So, you're more likely to have a good experience with deities and gods and goddesses if you start off with saying, please, I am humble, I am hoping for some help, I'm hoping for a good impact on these endeavors that I have in my life, and I would really like you to help me. Deities really like it when you say, I really respect you, and I really want to honor you with my practices. That's part of their deal, is they want people to honor them with their practices. And it can be a great situation, but it's more likely to be a good, strong relationship, and for those deities to have a powerful impact on your life. Because most likely the deity's just going to be like, so what, you set up an altar to me? I don't care. I'm not going to help you with that thing. You never really asked. You just said, I'm going to do it. So situations where we ask in the beginning, it really helps out a lot, even when it comes to worshiping gods and goddesses. So, to close this off, it's just good to remember to be in harmony with others, whether that be the spirits around you, other people around you, children, adults, your friends, your family, the spirits of places. It's always good to remember to be in harmony with them, to be kind, to honor their wishes. To honor other people is a form of loving them. And when we honor people's requests and we honor people's choices, they are more likely to trust us, and we're more likely to have good, solid relationships in our lives. The same goes for spirits and everything in between. I'm Seb. I'm the owner of Green Stag Spirit Work, as I said before. And I have an email list if you'd like to hear about other workshops I'm doing or talks that are here at Soul Food Books. We're not quite sure yet if I'm going to do a talk on the first Saturday of January or not, but I should be back on the first Saturday of February. And got an online course if you want to pick up a handout for the online course. It's free. It's on meditation. I also have another course on my website that's all about energy work if you're interested in that. And I do not have the handout for that today. I did not print it up. But it is up on my website and you can find it fairly easily. Yeah, if you guys want to, I would love to hear about your own spiritual practices and your own perspectives on spirituality. Thank you very much.